Aloha, folks. This is Ho'oi Kaika, and I have my classmate from high school. And we were just talking, and it's crazy because I haven't seen him since my senior year in high school. I've seen photos and videos of him on social media, but I haven't seen him face to face, and this is pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it's kind of not right, bro.
It isn't. I know to not see each other for this long. Jake and I actually we played volleyball together at Kamehameha School's 93 state championships, by the way. Unfortunately, Jake was actually on the court. I wasn't. I was I was keeping that bench from flying in the air, but Jake was on the court participating. So he's a step above. Still trying to keep up with him.
Well, a little bit too kind, actually. We did a lot of playing together, though, for sure. And I had my fair share of warming the bench too. So
Yeah, that was good fun. I remember when they had split us up. I think it was the what was it? It was like, you know how they have those preseason tournaments at Kikuhopio. I
yeah,
think they
yeah.
split us up. It was Keahi Kahana guys and his team, and then it was us. I think you were team captain. It was us. It was Yumi, Kahi Villa, who was Kirsten, Kaya Piki or something like that. And yeah, we ended up. I think we ended up going against our own team at the end. I forget already. But that
I
was
know.
good
I
fun.
can't even believe you remember all those names, man. It's like if I don't use somebody's name in like the last 10 or 15 years, their name just like gets booted. So, I mean, for you to say all those names, man, that's like bringing a blast from the past for sure.
I'm kind of shocked myself that that actually came out. But anyway, shoot. Sorry, brother. I'm gonna let you go ahead. This is my friend Jake Stewart, and I'm gonna have him go ahead and introduce himself and tell everybody what he does. So go ahead, brother. All you.
Yeah. What do I well, first of all, I am blessed to have been married to a wife that I didn't know that I wanted to be married to. I never wanted to get married to a local girl. I don't know if you knew that, Gavon, but like I never wanted to marry a local girl, and it's nothing against local girls. I just had this sensing in my heart, like there were a lot of girls that I knew that were local girls that they just didn't have a big vision, you know. They just wanted to just I don't know go beach all the time and hang out and stuff, and I just was meant for more than that, and I didn't want to just be stuck like fighting that fight for the rest of my life. And so I just felt like I never really wanted to marry a local girl. And then it's so funny because you know, God has his way of doing things and he knows what's best for us. And so 23 and a half years ago now, I married a girl that actually grew up on the Big Island in Pohoa, like the pot smoking capital of the Big Island, maybe of the world. Somehow she never got involved with drugs or anything, but you know, we got married 23 and a half years ago. We've got an 18-year-old daughter who is absolutely wonderful, beautiful young lady. And we've got a 15-year-old son, and we're just living the dream, man. So just blessed in that way, have a healthy family, healthy in our relationships, healthy in our physical bodies, and we're thrilled about all of that stuff. And actually, it's funny. My educational background, I actually have a Bachelor of Science degree in biology. I graduated from Willamette University in Salem, Oregon. Spent my first 2 years in undergrad stuff actually at Pepperdine University in Malibu, California. And then after I finished my undergrad degree, I actually it just had a real I don't know, I guess you would call it an encounter with God, and always believed in God, but just really had a personal encounter with God in 1998 and really radically changed my life. So instead of going into exotic animal veterinary medicine like I was planning to, you might know that I trained dolphins and stuff at Sea Life Park for a while, right? And then when I was on the mainland, going to school, I worked my way through school because I was not a rich guy. So I had to work my way through school. So I actually worked on a horse ranch, training, cutting horses and taking care of sheep and goats and buffalo and cattle and all kinds of stuff. And then, so I was well on that track, but then I decided to actually go into the ministry. I really felt like God was calling me to help people. And so I then went on to get my master's and then my doctorate degree in theology, and been on staff working at a church since 1999. And yeah, just been living that particular dream and helping as many people as I possibly can. It's been an awesome life, and I'm blessed to live it.
What is the name of your church again?
So the name of our church is the Ark Christian Church, and my parents actually founded the church in 1999, and I was on staff with them. And then my wife and I assumed the lead pastorate about 7 years ago. Coming up in January will be 7 years, and yeah, just loving people in the Kaneohe community. But we draw people from all over the island. So we've got folks that come all the way from Makaha and Nanakuli, all the way out to Hawaii Kai, and everywhere in between. So we have people that come from all over the island just to be a part of our congregation that's based out of Kaneohe.
That's really cool, man. In fact, I don't know if I told you when my son was going to jumpstart preschool. I can't remember her name, but one of his teachers goes to your church. I can't remember her name now. Oh my gosh, Caitlin. I want to say Caitlin. But she's Hapa Holly girl. Yeah. Anyway, but she actually would talk about you a lot. She goes, "Oh yeah, I go to Pastor Jake's church because I told her that I went to Kamehameha."
Good things.
And he said, "Oh, my pastor went to Kamehameha." And then I was like, "Oh, dude, I know him. I know Jake. Jeez, you kidding me?"
Oh, that's funny, man. I mean, so many. I mean, it's crazy that there's so many degrees of connection, and somehow we haven't seen each other face to face in like 30 years, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's ridiculous. Like my dad said, he saw you at Windward Mall, I think, at a golf shop, and then I see pictures of your mom in my wife's office. With work, it's just like whoop whoop, just keep on
Man,
missing.
I'm telling you, you got to get out more, bro. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe you're
yeah.
sitting at
Well,
home too much.
that's the nature of my job
I
too,
know,
right? Because
right?
I work from home, so it's like, oh, like every once in a while I do get out and pick up the boys and go work out, and then after that, it's yeah, almost like a vampire life, bro. It's kind of crazy. Hey, so with your job, what would you say is the most gratifying part of what you do?
Wow, that's a great question. The most gratifying thing of what I do, what I do encompasses so much, and I don't just minister locally. I travel around the world. I go to very underdeveloped places in the world, places where other people don't want to go. So I get to experience some things. Recently, when I say recently, it's like that COVID blip just hit me. But like right before the whole COVID thing kicked off, I was actually in India. I was in a very remote part of India, and I was the first person. Now I know I look kind of haole, but I'm a little bit. I've got a little bit of color. So anyway, but I was the first person of this particular skin tone that they've ever seen in their lives. So I was in a village out there that they've only ever seen other Indian people. They've never seen somebody from another part of the world, a different kind of complexion than their own. And I mean, that's a crazy thing to me to realize that in the year 2020 or 2019, I think it was when I was there, that people around the world still haven't seen people from other places in the world. I mean, it blows my mind still till today. But to be able to do that and to travel to other places and to make a difference in their lives is tremendous. I think probably the biggest thing though that I really get out of and is most fulfilling for me is to see people become whole. I just think there's so much brokenness in our world, so many broken families, broken homes, broken people. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I don't mean to say that when people are broken that it means that they're less valuable. And I hope that I get this right, but I think culturally, like in Japan, that sometimes they have this type of pottery, right? And when it cracks, they don't actually like dispose of it. But what they do is in some cultures, in old cultures, they would like fill the cracks in the pottery with wax, and sometimes they would use it as like a candle bowl. And when they would do that, then the light would actually shine through the cracks, which is kind of an interesting thing. So instead of hiding the cracks, it's actually shining on those cracks. And then I think in Japan, they actually will take those cracked vessels, and sometimes what they do is they actually fill it with gold. And so again, it's highlighting the cracks, but it's taking those cracks and turning them into something valuable. Instead of disposing of the broken things, it's healing those broken things and making it to be whole again, but also then adding value to it, by the experiences, if you will, that that vessel has had. And so I think that would be the most fulfilling thing that I could say in my life, is being able to help to bring wholeness and healing to people that have been so broken. And I mean, the things that I've just seen go on with people's lives, and what I do intersects with counseling, and it intersects with faith, and it intersects with just being a people person. But at the same time, it's all those things, but seeing people move from one station of living to another station of living. And it's not just about finances, but it's about being whole in the way that we approach life and being healed. Because you've probably heard it said, right, that healed people heal people, and hurt people hurt people. And so I think that's probably the most fulfilling thing, is for me to see somebody go from being broken to being whole.
Amen, brother. My wife and I talk about a lot of times we have friends or we run into people who have experienced major trauma in their life, and usually a lot of times it carries on, it carries down, generations and whatnot. And so you have all these other people hurting each other because they were hurt too, and they haven't had a chance to heal. So I like that. I like that what you talked about. You mentioned something about. I mean, obviously, you are Kanaka Maoli, you are Hawaiian, but you mentioned earlier about being fair skinned too. I had a gentleman, my cousin, yesterday talk about some of the issues he had growing up in Nanakuli, and also being fair skinned. He has albinism, but that was one of the issues he had to deal with. Was that a challenge for you growing up in Hawaii too?
That's a great question. And obviously, I speak proper English. I can speak proper English. I can also go pidgin if I need to. I'm bilingual. Um, but
That's true, bro.
I can't say that it was really an issue for me. Actually, I probably got the most racist comment from my son last night. He's like, "You're gonna be on a podcast for polys? You're not even poly." I'm like, "Come on, man." That's terrible. He's thinking, you got to be full-blooded Hawaiian or full-blooded Tongan or whatever to be considered Polynesian. And he was like, "Why would he want to interview you?" I said, because I'm a successful Polynesian person, or a person of Polynesian descent. And but honestly, I don't think that I ever really experienced a lot of I don't know. I guess you could call it racism or elitism against me because I'm fair skinned. I used to have a better tan when I had more time, man. I
Yeah, I
spent way
remember.
too
I
much
remember
time
seeing that tan.
indoors.
I remember seeing that tan.
Yeah, I had that tan when I was working at Sea Life Park. You work out in the sun 8 hours a day, you get a little bit of a tan. But yeah, I don't think that I really experienced that so much. I think probably, and I want to be careful a little bit, maybe how I say this. I think probably I recognize more struggles when I didn't really dig into my Hawaiian culture side. Back in the 90s, I mean, of course, we graduated in 1994, and right around that time there was a pretty big resurgence of Hawaiian culture. And we learned a little bit about Hawaiian culture, and we learned a little bit about this and that in school. Of course, going to Kamehameha schools, there's a bit of the culture that is portrayed there. A lot of it had to do with the princess and her legacy and everything, but there was some Hawaiian culture that we were made to take in a mandatory fashion for graduation, right? But I think probably I experienced a little bit more. I don't even know how to call it, like being set on the side by other people of Hawaiian ancestry when I didn't really identify really strongly with my Hawaiian side. And it's not that I didn't, that I was trying to not be Hawaiian, or that I had any disparaging thoughts towards being Hawaiian. It just wasn't one of those things that was really strong in my family. And so really, when that whole resurgence came up, actually it very much turned me off to learning about Hawaiian culture. Again, I want to say this really carefully because I'm sure that a ton of your viewers are of Hawaiian ancestry, of Polynesian ancestry. But I felt like the pendulum really swung really strongly to the side. Like if you don't identify strongly as Hawaiian, and if you're not trying to learn the mother tongue, and if you're not trying to learn the cultural ways, and if you're not wearing a malo on Saturdays or whatever, that you're kind of not Hawaiian enough. I hear that sometimes with the African American population, that sometimes people say they're not and for me, a lot of times with some of the people I was around, it was like I wasn't Hawaiian enough. And it wasn't so much about my skin tone, but it was about my cultural identification. Or maybe I didn't speak the language enough, or I didn't speak enough pidgin. And I can go there, but I can also turn it off. And so I feel like in a lot of ways there was a little bit of a judging kind of a thing, a prejudice kind of a thing there. So I don't know if you've ever experienced that. You look way more Hawaiian than me, but I don't know. You know what I'm talking about? That with that whole resurgence and that pendulum swing, I think it's come back a little bit, but I still feel like it really pegged way over on one side, at least from my recollection.
Oh yeah, brother. Like I don't know if I've like you mentioned earlier, because my skin is a little bit darker. I don't think I've experienced it as harshly as you did, but I did get it though, because like when we went to Kamehameha schools, I took Japanese, and some of my friends who were Hawaiian or lived in a homestead or whatnot would criticize me as like, "Why you take Japanese for? You Hawaiian?" It's like, brother, you realize if I learn Japanese, the tourists come over here, I could chance of getting a better job, right? So I took 4 years Japanese. I got criticized for that. Even doing like Polynesian dance too. When I was doing Polynesian dancing, sometimes I would want to do the other sections. I'd dance Samoa, Fiji. Oh, how come you don't like that? That's Hawaiian section. Hawaii's like, I'm trying to learn other cultures. That's why sometimes I got criticized for that too. But it just kind of depends, right? In any culture, you got people all across the spectrum. Some are very extreme. This is how the culture needs to be, and we got to preserve it and keep it. And then you got the other people on the stream. They want to keep their minds open and learn all these different things. And like you said, there was that resurgence in the 90s. And I think now we're trying to find that balance, between the two. Is like, okay, practice kapu aloha, learn about the culture, but find a way to move forward. And I think that's where we're at right now, where people are trying to find a way where we protect our culture, but yet learn about the other stuff that's happening in the world. Like now, when I was working in IT at Kamehameha Schools, we were using technology to create all these applications, these cultural games that kids could play on their computers and iPads to learn about makahiki or just Olelo Hawaii, but using computers, just stuff like that. And there's actually some projects that I'm working on right now to teach about how to say Hawaiian words in math and everything. I create all these educational games, these interactive games that you can play on mobile devices. That's where we at now, and I hope it makes a difference. Hopefully. Yeah, but I don't know. That kind of went off on a tangent a little bit.
Well, first of all, I want to say that obviously you are way smarter than I am, because I can't do any of those things. But I think that's great. I think for me, I even have to watch myself. I gotta check my own heart and check my own response, because I feel like in some ways I had a negative response. I didn't even, with some of the people that I had interaction with, and who like really blasted me for not being Hawaiian enough, for not embracing the culture enough, and everything. Like I feel like in some ways it made me not even want to associate with the Hawaiian culture. I didn't want to be. There was a lot of hatred and a lot of vitriol and a lot of this stuff against the colonizer and stuff, and I get it, and at the same time I didn't want to be associated with the hate. I didn't want to be associated with even feeling like I'm owed something, or that there are reparations that need to be done. I just didn't want to be associated with that. Oh, like you're one of those angry Hawaiians, like, because I'm not angry. I'm blessed. I'm happy. My life is well. Do I wish in some ways that some things would go back to the, kind of the old ways of doing things. And of course, I wasn't there, so I didn't witness it, but have a nap in the middle of the day. I like to work at night. I love it. I mean, the other night we had a major storm and everything like that, knocked out the power in Kaneohe. I went outside and in the storm and everything, and I was just enjoying the darkness. I honestly, I know this is a tangent and it's a little bit weird, but I wish that our government would just be like, hey, let's shut down the power on one night every month. Because I remember, you remember when we had that earthquake a number of years ago, and all the power was out for like maybe 3 days, 4 days, something like that, in some areas anyway. Man, I just enjoyed that we couldn't do so much, that you had to go sleep when the sun went down. That you rallied around the candle or the lamp that you had as a family and came together as a family and just slowed down a little bit. Of course, that would be good for our ecosystem and our environment too, to shut all that down. But I mean, I just, in some ways, I long for those times and that stuff, but without the hate and without the, pushback in some ways that I think is not healthy for the heart. There's this interesting verse in the Bible, and it says that bitterness dries the bones. And man, it just like I don't want to live with bitterness in my heart towards anyone, not towards my people, not towards people that colonized my people, not towards anyone. Bitterness just isn't worth it. So I feel like I need to watch my own self, because I tended to like push away from that and push back. Like, I don't even want to be associated with that. And yet it's important for me to embrace my culture as well.
Oh yeah, brother, don't worry, man, because I know for a fact, like I have these conversations with a lot of our people, Native Hawaiians that are mixed race like us, and it's all over the whole gamut, all across the spectrum. Some have your point of view, some have the other extreme, and it's just interesting to hear everybody wanting to just somehow be united and lokahi and get together, and so we can all move forward eventually. That's the hard part, right? Talking about accomplishments that you've achieved, and I know you've achieved a lot. Well, what are some of your greatest accomplishments, triumphs, and maybe even challenges you had to overcome? You mind sharing?
Wow, man, that's a great question too. Without sounding cheesy, I think my greatest accomplishment to date is raising some good human beings, man. Uh, it's so easy, I think, to just go with the flow and to see and just throw an iPad in front of your kids and let the iPad be the one-eyed babysitter. It's so easy to just give them devices and let them do that stuff. And we went a non-traditional route. We decided that we were going to homeschool our kids. So we homeschooled our kids from day one, and everything is learning. So we'd go to the zoo, and with a degree in biology, I know a few things about a few things. And so, it was science time at the zoo. When we go out to the ocean and we go to the beach, we get to learn about currents and how the wind helps the currents and moves why is the beach empty this time of year? Don't worry, we don't need bulldozers. You just got to wait for the waves to come back the other direction in the other season. And it's just, life becomes learning. And so I feel like the greatest accomplishment that I can say so far is that I have a happy marriage. That we're good to go. We have no plans on getting divorced, and we don't want to. But we got to fight for it. I mean, it doesn't mean that it's easy, because God knows my wife has problems, man. I'm just kidding, but like we're not perfect, and it's hard and it's a fight. But like, instead of treating everything as disposable, it's fighting to repair the things that get broken, right? Don't just throw it away, repair it. It's worthwhile. And so I would say that's the biggest accomplishment of my life, is raising some good human beings and having a good marriage, and just being I think in general, just being a good person. I'm not a perfect person. I'm not the greatest person that ever lived. I mean, Mother Teresa has a whole lot on me, but like, just working towards being a good person. I gotta tell you, man, I work on myself a lot. I look in the mirror a lot. Because it's so easy to look at other people as the problem, but I choose to take hard that hard thing and look at myself and try to work on the stuff that needs work on, and even getting feedback from other people in my world that are just like, bro, like, tell me if I'm a jerk, please tell me so that I can work on that. I don't want to be a jerk. I want to be I want to not just be a nice guy. I want to be a good person. So help me out with that. And other than that, I think, when it comes to whether it's intellectual, academic, uh financial, any of those things, I mean, I would say one of the biggest joys of my life was that after 18 years of renting, that my wife and I were able to buy a home that should have been torn down. So we bought a home in 2019, right?
Awesome.
I
That's
mean,
awesome.
we're blessed. And funny story, when we bought the house, it was so bad. It should have been torn down, and we walked in there, and our daughter was like 15 at the time, and bless her heart, man, we walked into the house and she looked around and she's like, Mom, Dad, I don't want to live here. And it was that bad, bro. I got pictures to prove it. And but we took that house and we've rehabilitated it and brought it back to life, and it's a good solid home. And every time I'm tempted to be frustrated by that, I think about how many millions or billions of people that it is their dream to come to Hawaii, just to vacation or to visit once in their life, and how few people will actually make that dream a reality. And then I think about how many people that have come here wish that they could live here and have not been able to do it. I think about how many people, and even our people, our Hawaiian people, have not been able to purchase a home. And that in a very humble way, that puts me and my family in a top fraction of a percentage of people in the entire world who will ever be able to say, I own a home in Hawaii and it's mine, and it's my little piece of paradise. And what a blessing that is. We are in the top fraction of a percentage of people in the world, and it's a hugely humbling thing to be able to say that. And then finally, I would just say probably the other big accomplishment, if you can call it that, is that, like, me and my church, we made it through COVID. And it may not seem like a big deal, but think about what church is. Church is everything you're not supposed to do in COVID. You're gathering large numbers of people together for extended periods of time, hugging one another, staying in close proximity with one another, singing, and in a confined space. Like, that's all the no-nos of COVID. And so it was a hard season for churches. And in 2019, a recent statistic said that over 4,500 churches closed in 2019. And that was even before the height of the pandemic. And a lot more churches closed throughout the years of 2020 to 2022. And I will tell you that I am so blessed that our church didn't close during that time. And I can only attribute that to the fact that we are a community of believers that believe more in relationship and fighting for relationship, fighting for connection, more than we are about being an organization that just brings people together. And so I would say those are the biggest accomplishments of my life, and having great relationship with my family, with my sister and her husband and their 3 kids, with my mom and dad who live nearby. And man, just yeah, I live a blessed life. It's hard to pick a few things out.
Amen, brother. Shucks, I know we got a few minutes left. What would you want to tell to other Polynesian men that are out there, especially our fellow Kanaka Maoli out there that are struggling? What is some bits of advice you would like to tell them in dealing with rough times?
Wow. Man, you got some good questions. I love it. I think probably the singular biggest thing that I tell people on such a frequent basis is this one thing: that as long as there's breath, there's hope. And I just, man, you can't give up. if there's something that we learned in playing volleyball, right, Gavon, is that you don't have to be the best. You don't have to be the strongest. You don't have to be the most talented. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the wealthiest. You don't have to be anything on that volleyball court. The only thing that matters is that the ball does not touch the ground on your side of the net. So the other guys might be able to jump higher, spike the ball harder. They may be faster. They may have better gear. They may have better training. But if the ball touches the ground on their side of the court, they lose. And so all you have to do to win is not give up. All you have to do to win is just keep going. Just keep putting the ball over the net. And I know that's a sports and specifically a volleyball analogy, but I just want to encourage people, don't give up in these tough seasons, in these tough times that we're going through. As long as there's breath, there is hope and there's strength in connection. So I just want to encourage people, in our day and age, it's so easy to be, how do I put it, to have the illusion of connection. And that illusion of connection is how many followers we have on social. It's about how many people, how many likes we get, how many followers we have. But those people, are they there for you when you need them? Are they, do they actually have skin in the game? And when you're going through hard times, are they actually going to show up for you, or are they actually going to turn on you and start bashing you when you're down? And I want to just encourage people to fight that current in our culture, to be connected but in a disconnected kind of a way. And instead of just having FaceTime on your iPhone or on your iPad, have some real FaceTime with people. Get together with people. Fight to be connected, because it's so easy to be disconnected. But your connections, your relationships, those are the things that are going to sustain you in hard times. And so don't be afraid to be connected. Like, last thing I guess I'll say, and I talk too much, Gavon, so sorry. But I just want to say this, that like, people probably like you more than you think they do. Let me say that again. People like you more than you think that they do. They think more highly of you than you think that they do. And they're more honored to be around you than you think that they are. And so, just hold on to that. Just believe in that. And as you do that, like, just understand that people want to be connected to you. They don't want to be away from you. They don't want to be separated from you. They want to be connected to you. Invite somebody to go out to dinner. Invite somebody to just have a poo poo or a snack together. Just get together, go beach. Redevelop connections. Don't forget how to be friends. You remember when you used to go to a playground when you were a little kid, back when playgrounds were allowed? You could have swings and all the dangerous equipment. And you just walk up to a random stranger and be like, "Hey, Alze, you want to be my friend?" And they're like, "Yeah, let's be friends." And you just play together for the rest of the day. We've lost the art of being friends, man. And I just want to encourage people, like, just reach out to other people. Don't go through this life alone. It's always better. Life is always better together.